going to share my screen. Now, what's going to be interesting in a couple of slides, I've got a little 3-minute YouTube video, which will be interesting to see if it actually shares across Zoom and if you'll all be able to hear it. So we may get into a bit of a technical malfunction. I just thought I'd manage expectations there because I'm not sure whether it'll transfer over. Sometimes you lose audio and stuff like that. So can you all see my screen?
Yes, thank you.
Thanks much. Okay, so today's drop-in. Today's content is a guide to search engine optimization, which is shortened as SEO. It's a huge topic. Thank you very much for those that decided that it would be a good one to talk about. And I hope I don't speed through too quickly. And I also hope that I don't lose you with the boredom factor. If you kind of find that the topic's a little bit overwhelming, don't worry, because it's overwhelming for everybody. It does require a fair amount of expertise, but at the same time, there are elements of it that are quite doable. It just takes a little bit of, knowing the foundations of it and what it's all about. So we'll cover what is SEO, the types of SEO, how does it all work? There's a starter guide, and then where to start. And I've sort of gathered some links and tools and basically a takeaway. So we won't go hard at every piece of content that's on the slide deck, but the slide deck can at least give you a bit of a guide, and then you can follow some links to take you through other tools and resources, which I hope are very, very helpful. So what is search engine optimization? So Google defines SEO as the process of making your site better for search engines. Google is a search engine, right? So essentially it's a way of increasing the quality and the quantity of traffic to your website, as well as your brand being discovered by the correct potential customers through organic search engine results. So it's basically, it is as much about consumers as it is about the search engines themselves. And that means that SEO is best achieved when your website contains information that's relevant to both human visitors and search engine crawlers. So we're trying to connect the two, right? It's trying to get a balance where your business understands what your customer's intent is, and by that I mean what they search for, what sort of things they could put into Google to search for. And it's how your business can deliver it in a way that the search engine crawlers, the robots, can find and understand your content to match an answer. So it's trying to connect the two things, because generally our business and what we do, it's in a physical sense and it's in our head. We've got to put it online so that we can get the message out there and people can find us. So what we need to do as a business is learn and capture what people are searching for. So what sort of questions are they asking, or what answers are they seeking? What answers are they seeking, and what words are they using, and what's the kind of content that they actually enjoy? Some people will write full sentences, others will write just a few little words that hopefully gives them something that they're looking for. So if your business understands the answers to these questions, it will allow you to connect to people that are searching online for a product or a service that you offer. So we'll go on to the types of SEO. Now, this is really high level. It's, nothing. Oh, hang on, my slideshow's not moving. One moment, please. Here we go. Just give me 1 second.
You've been painting some excellent word pictures.
Excellent. I'm so glad, because it's not moving. Just give me 2 seconds. I'm going to start over. Can you still see one of my screens at all?
Yeah, we can see your background screen now.
Okay, let's try again.
With the runner on the beach.
Yeah, that's a good shot, isn't it? Right. Okay.
That's title page.
All right. Are we flicking now?
Yeah, we are.
Yay.
We are.
Okay. Now we're in business. Sorry, that was what I took you through. I'm glad I sort of took you through a bit of the visual. This is the definition of SEO. Sorry, you couldn't see that earlier, but as I said, this is all for you to all take away, refer back to. So that's why it's all written up there in bright lights. Now, there are 3 types of categories of SEO, and there's you just hear these references. There's on page and off page, which focuses on your site's content, and content I mean by the story, the words, it's the text. So it focuses on your site's content strategy and its relationship to the rest of the web. That means that how that content is mixed up online with everybody else's content. And technical SEO is about improving technical aspects of your website in order to make it easier to crawl, easier to understand, and more valuable overall to search engines. And again, I just keep going back to Google. That's that terminology there. The browser is what you, yeah.
Did Google's changes back in April this year, did they impact all 3 of those, or any one of them in particular?
They did impact all 3. And I'm glad you asked that question, because I also am going to introduce you to that word algorithms. So that's what they changed in April. So everything online it's been changing all the time, because more businesses go online, more businesses have information, and they're finding more ways of delivering that information through not only words and pages on websites, but also photographs and videos. So people are creating more and more. So algorithms, so if I tell you, so search engines are like Google, Bing, and Yahoo. So they're the machines that answer questions, and they exist to discover, understand, and organize the internet's content in order to offer the most relevant results to the questions that searchers are asking. So an algorithm is a formula. It's a list of instructions and rules that a computer needs to do to complete a task, to take off, run off, and retrieve information in some meaningful way. They are used to calculate updates, importance of content, and how many pages are relevant from each website. Because if you look for something, not every page or not that whole website won't be the relevant information that you're looking for. It'll just be a particular page. And what it helps, the algorithm, what that does is it calculates how often a crawler should visit your site when there's been a change. So every search engine works through 3 primary functions. They crawl, and think of it as, we're talking the World Wide Web, right? Think of it as a web. The crawlers are the spiders, otherwise known as robots. So they scour the internet for content, and they look all over. They look everywhere for code. They do all the boring code stuff, all those letters and numbers that are written in there that mean something to a computer, mean nothing to us. And they look at every single page to find out what and grab that information. And then what happens to that information is it gets indexed, and indexing is where it gets stored. Indexing is storing and organizing the content that's found during that crawling process. So once a page is indexed, it's in the running to be displayed as a result of what a search has been looking for. And as I said, crawling, it crawls web pages, images, video, attachments. So regardless of the format, the content can be discovered. So it's got to be online. And what happens there is the ranking provides the pieces of content that will best answer a searcher's query, but it orders it it puts it in order of relevance. So that's where you get the ranking. So the better content, the more up-to-date the content is, it is then shifted to the top. We'll never find out exactly how Google or Bing or Yahoo, what their crawlers and how it's all indexed, all those three elements. We'll never know the real secret. It's a bit of like a secret recipe of how you actually get to number one. Of course, you'll always be trumped by someone who pays a lot of money and you put ads up there and they'll always reach number one. But you still need to make sure that those elements, your content can be read and captured by the way that works. So in general, you can assume that the higher a website is ranked, the more relevant the search engine believes that site is to what a person's looked for. That's kind of in a nutshell. I hope that's kind of giving you a bit of visual thinking, a spider web and a web, and spiders are crawling around everywhere. And that's why, yeah, they give these names. Now I'm going to switch to the starter guide, which is where I have a video that, well, it connects to a video online. But basically SEO, it's become an essential channel in the digital marketing mix for brands and organizations, and it is constantly evolving. I cannot tell you enough. And as Sarah mentioned, there was a change that was done in April. It's a forever, it will never stop changing now. It's one of those things that it can't stop changing because it just gets better. It just improves, and it's to improve for businesses as well as for people who are searching. If you have any information that you need to look for, we don't have to go to a library anymore. We just go online, and we want that bit of information just put straight in front of us as soon as we look for it, because we don't have time to go through pages and pages and look through the library category and read tons and tons of books. We want that the most relevant there for us to go away and do what we need to do with the information. I'm going to click on this and really hope that it takes us. Let's just see. Oh, I think it's going to work. Is that working? Now, did everyone see that and hear it? Hello?
I didn't hear anything.
You didn't?
Try again. I heard a tiny little bit and then it stopped. So
Okay.
no, not hearing it.
You can't hear it.
That made a little sound at the start and then that was it. Yeah.
Right.
Sounded like a robot sound.
Okay, well that I knew that was going to happen. Okay. All right. Well,
if you can send us the link,
exactly. Yeah. Well, if I can put the link in the chat, it means that everyone has to go on mute and spend the quick 3 minutes watching it. Now, is that a good idea? What do we think?
Can you give us just a précis, and the link is there on the slide that we can go to afterwards, and then because it's 25 past now anyway. So sure. Look,
it's a good snippet. It's a nice little snippet from Google, and what I'd love to say is, I mean, look, I'm not saying that Google is the be all end all, but let's just face it, they are the biggest. So that's why I do lean towards getting resources and courses and guides directly from Google, because when they make a change, everything changes. So it kind of makes sense to get, to hear it from them, hear it from the horse's mouth directly. So I've got links here in this slide as well, which you'll all get to Google Search Central. So you can actually have here on the right hand side, if you can see, you can still see my slide.
Yep.
So you can pick who you are and it guides you through to what information you may need as a business or as a marketer. So Google Search Central is a fantastic resource. And then the Google Search Console is where you actually log in as your business And if you have a Google My Business, they've got all these names for all sorts, but it's all, look, it's all in the one bucket, basically. You've got the one area to go to. This just, the video just basically sums up and says, look, SEO is like a shop window. You've got to display your brand, you've got to display your products and your services, and it talks about how you're how you can get your brand and your products online and what you should be doing very briefly. But what I did was I also prepared a nice little list. It does go on to about 13 high-level points of where to start. So I'll just literally read the headings and maybe go into a little bit more detail. Someone wants to jump in and ask a quick question, let's just probably save it to the end so that you can get a really good snapshot of where we're going with this. So where to start with SEO? And of course, if some of these things are not things that you're interested in doing and you're thinking of hiring a website developer or master or whatever they're called, or an SEO expert, you can also, this is a great guide to talk to them about it and understand where your site is at and what you should and shouldn't be maybe spending a bit of time on, or getting them to dedicate their time on and paying for it. So you've got...
Can I just ask a quick question?
Sure.
These slides, are they going to be available afterwards?
Absolutely. Yes, indeed. Indeed. And if any of the links don't work, I'd gladly have someone test the links. If they don't work, I can put them all in a transcript in an email to you all, and you'll have reference to all the links as well.
Just make sure that we've got your email, Kevin, but I think we probably do if you got the email from Rachel.
Good.
Great. So there is a way to test if your site is already present in search engines, and it talks to you. Basically, you type in, sorry, that's just me clicking for a second. You type in a Google search box, you type in site, colon, and your domain name. And then you see if it appears on the top there. It will tell you if basically search engines can find you, okay, with your domain name, which most people would be in that position, that they are able to be found. You signing up to Google Search Console. Now, we talked about Google My Business last week, 2 weeks ago, and that is essentially within that suite of tools and resources. Now, Google Search Console, it allows you also to measure what to improve and analyze what to improve, and it guides you through where to put more content. So that's pretty important. It is connected also to Google Analytics. If you currently don't have your website and Google Analytics switched on, I'd suggest that you do that too. That's, again, these are all foundation, or they're all places to basically start and tick off. A sitemap. Now, the main objective of SEO is to help Google find your content. Now, the first thing to do is to submit this sitemap of your website to Google search. So that way Google will know what the spiders, the crawlers will know what to look for, and that there are pages available to be crawled, so that they can take it back to the library, drop it in the index, so that your content is going to be able to then be ranked according to words, images, videos, etc. But if the crawler doesn't know that it's got a lot of pages, and if it's all jumbled, it could miss pages, it could miss content, so you may not be found, or your content may not be found. A robot text file. The robot text file prevents search engines from crawling your pages. Sometimes it does happen that some of your pages may actually be blocked from being read and found by the robots. So this text file should be included on all your pages, and for search engines results to come up. And there is also an issue that it could alter the authorization of your website. Okay, so again, this is very high level. You'll capture a bit more in the videos, and some of the links will explain some of these items a bit further, or you will speak to an SEO expert. Number 5, so keyword search. We've all heard about keywords. This involves a process of understanding how your target audience, as we keep saying, is searching for a product, service, or information relevant to your business. So it's really important your content holds keywords and phrases, so that, and you create the useful content around whatever keywords they may be using, and it matches up to what the search engine or the crawlers have found within your web pages.
And how do you go about actually, I mean, how does a business go about identifying, you know, what are some things that you can do? Do you literally just ask your clients or look at the reviews? Or
yes, absolutely. I've got some little tips about what to do with your content. And it does include asking, what did you search for? What did you do? How did you find me? You know, you need to sort of talk to people about that. And don't forget, big businesses, they might be lucky because they've got a really big budget and they've got people sitting in front of their laptops, just, you know, hammering away every day. However, they don't know, they don't get to interact face-to-face, one-on-one with their customers. So this is where we were talking about local, you know, being local and finding, you know, getting on Google My Business and making sure that you're searchable, you're able to be found locally. Well, this is important too. When you do speak to your customers, when you do phone them, when you are interacting with them and sending them and answering questions, you find out so much, and that's where you can adapt your keywords and you can adapt your business and figure out how you're able to be found. There are links also to some tools which will find the best keywords for you. That comes up a little later as well. So yes, that there was a yes to that one. Page title tag. Now, for each web page, you should create a unique, so every page that comes up, it comes up at the top of that tab what that page is called, and you should really create a unique, brief and descriptive title tag, including targeted keywords, which communicate the topic of that page and the content to users and search engines. So if you start to look for something online, start to notice, or if you've never noticed before, start to have a look at what that page is. And when you click through a website, each page should, I mean, it doesn't always have to, but this is what this is talking about, that each page will be given a different name and have some keywords in there to identify the content. Meta description, that is, it uses a unique, well, a business, a website should use unique meta descriptions, including, again, the targeted keywords, and outline all the relevant information that sum up the content of the page. So if you can see here, that is a meta description. So you've got a keyword strikingly brings up a title tag, and then it also brings up a description. So users will scan and go, oh, yep, okay, that's the page that I want to go on to, because they're led to a bit more of the content, right? They've been given a bit more information about what that page is going to have, and they'll be tempted to click through and go on and read and go onto your page. So that's where you get your traffic from, and you've got to tempt the users to go on and click through.
And items 7 and 8, if you just, before you go on, if thinking about last time when we were saying with Google My Business, and when you're putting pictures up, you put pictures up with a description that is meaningful, not a jumble of letters.jpg. So that's in right. The same way, your page title tag and your meta description is nothing, it's not for you, but it's for your clients or your customers. So
that's right.
Just a, you know, if anyone's ever got a piece of media or something that's called, you know, blah, 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 final version .5, you know, approved, it's like, well, that's, you know, That's
That will
irrelevant.
it
You gotta
won't ever, no,
what you want your clients to see it as.
no, it won't ever come up. It won't be found. The crawlers won't be able to make any sense out of that because it has no connection to any searchable content or any searches. They won't be
Nobody's
asking.
looking for that.
No,
Yeah.
they're not looking for it. They're not
So
looking for it.
when you, with your page title tags and your meta descriptions, absolutely write them from the point of view of a customer who's perusing your pages
Yep,
or looking for
yep.
them.
Yeah, and look, it sounds like, oh, you know, all this jargon and everything, but it all makes sense. It's just all about organizing and setting up a series of, well, that leads to that, leads to that, and it just, you know, it's a story. It's all about your business. And the thing is, some people, some businesses, they think, oh, I've got really no story to tell. But when someone comes through your front door, when you're talking to someone and you tell them, what do you do? We've all got a story. So think of what you use to describe what you do and things like that. They're your sentences. That's your content. That's your description. That's your tag. They're your opportunities. You know, and yeah, it does take a little while to sort of see, well, what's the relevance of what I'm talking about and putting it online. But there you go. If you, like Sarah said, perfect example. If you've just put something up there and you've called it, oh, it's approved, you know, version 2, no one's looking for that. It doesn't tell them anything. So yeah, that's pretty important stuff. I hope it's sort of starting to make a little bit of sense. We've got headings as well. Now, web pages need to be organized in a hierarchical topic structure. So again, we're just talking about that structure. So it's just like a newspaper. You've got your headlines. You know, it helps the crawlers and it helps users understand that top level headline is going to take them to a page where it's got the content that they were looking for. Images, talked about those. That optimize and describe your images using alt tag descriptions. That's what we spoke about. Make sure that they make sense. Give a description of what that photo is about. Adding alternative text to images helps search engine crawlers to index the images. It can't put it in a library and it can't sort it and categorize it if you've put image 00123. It also allows visually impaired visitors. Now, this is quite important too. If they're using screen readers, the computer can read and understand the images as well. So it can pick up those images and it can, you know, it helps them so that when they have the voice activated, reading them to what the content in the page is about, they can say, well, they can't see it, but they have an explanation as to what is that image that's appearing. So that's pretty important too. Links, now use relevant links that are pointing to internal as well as external pages. What that means is that links work both ways. It gives site credibility with more outside websites that are connecting to yours. Gives credibility because they're going to want to, they want people to understand that the reference of the content has come from you. They will link it back. So having links is really important, and it does increase your ranking as well because you become the expert and you've got the best content to cover a certain topic. User experience and design, well, we all know that it's got to be a great experience for the user. They've got to be user friendly. So always check what the experience is like with your customer hat on, or if you're searching, do some crazy searches, look at your mobile phone, see how long it takes to load, do all these sorts of tests. This is all part of SEO as well. Major issues are speed and how long it takes to interact and how long something loads before you can actually click on it. So there is the Google algorithm that changed in April, really brought that up to the top level and said, well, it's all well and good, your site may appear and you might have a photo that loads on the phone, but if you're constantly trying to press a button and it's not active yet, that frustrates people. They'll just hit the back arrow and they'll go somewhere else. So that's all about user experience. The design, make it user friendly and make sure that it's available, as I mentioned, on your mobile. Check your desktop, and if you've got a tablet as well, or ask friends and customers to test things for you as well, in the first stages. Now, local SEO, this is really, really important, I believe, because so many businesses, we're not targeting anything anywhere else in the world. We're targeting the local area. We're targeting local services. So promote your website locally through Google My Business, and it's free, and it helps you reach customers on Google Maps, web searches, and also it shows reviews. So it shows those recommendations, which again, we spoke about last week. I'm going to skip through. These are some tools to get you all ready. It's a slide full of links, and it talks about connecting to popular tools that you should really activate: analytics, search console. Screaming Frog is a website crawler, and it shows you what it does an audit of your website, so that's kind of great. The only problem with some of these tools is that you get the information, you don't know how to read it, but it could be something that you could sit down with a web developer or someone who you're considering hiring to do a part of your SEO or anything else, and you can speak to them about some of the results that come up. Again, analytics, Google Analytics does really give you some great high-level stuff that is quite legible and user-friendly. There's a keyword planner link. So another free tool, and it helps you discover keywords related to your industry, your products, and your services. That takes a little bit of playing around and testing and trying things out. Google My Business talked about.
Just let me ask, who has a really good understanding of what are the keywords that are used in your industry? Do you know what people are looking for? What are the things that consistently get you found?
Well, I had a little bit of a look. I was shocked, actually. So I would say, like, I class myself a little bit of general engineering or something engineering, and nothing came up at all for me with words engineering, or so that would indicate we need to work on that side. But chipper blades and sharpening came up, which is good because that's sort of what I want. But also the other, I'd like to be known still as like some of these things I can do in engineering side as well. But that wasn't, I wasn't even a dot on wasn't even there, like scroll down and I wasn't even there sort of thing. So,
right.
But
and
I've
John,
written
Sorry, did you find this through analytics? Is that what you looked at to see how someone landed on your website and what they searched for? Did you have a look at Google Analytics?
I haven't yet. No, Jacqueline's been looking into some of that, I think. So it's a shame she wasn't here today, but yeah. But I've written a note here, I've just written relevant words highlighted that for myself. Yeah. Because I know you sort of said relevant links, but yeah, relevant words to do with what I want people to know me as.
Well, sometimes it's not only going to be about what you want. This is the thing, what you want and what you think isn't necessarily going to get you that traffic. Cover that area by all means, but if you can get the analytics to see when people do land on your pages and have a look through what is it that they're searching, and like you said, you were surprised, and you will often be surprised. What is it that they're searching? Is it their own interpretation? Are they putting in complete sentences or just random words? And then you actually come up because there could be some content that relates to that, but it could still not be, that they'll come to your page and it still may not be what they're looking for. So then they'll go off as well. So you want to have a look at what's happened after they have landed on your page with looking at those words, and is it relevant enough to turn into a conversion or spend some time on there or pick up the phone and call you and make an inquiry or write a question to you, or send you something. It isn't as boring as, as what people kind of think, because actually it's very interesting to know what are people asking for to find you. I mean, you want them to find you, but it can be really kind of eye-opening, actually. I think, Susan, yours is a good example. You've got people, different terminology. You've got WHS. Now, years ago, it used to be OHS, right, here in Australia, and then it changed. In other countries, it still is OHS. Do people put the and? Do people put the acronym? Do people actually write health, safety, work, all that sort of thing? So again, that is really important, especially when you're working in an industry that's got that ambiguous or has had a change in the actual industry category. So it's a good little thing to look out for. And again, that always changes too. You don't do it just the one time, because terminologies come and go, trends come and go, how people refer to things come and go. Like, we wouldn't have said that, why would you be saying TikTok? Like 12, 18, 2 years ago, TikTok was a clock, you'd be saying, and iPads. I mean, I've still got a joke that goes around every now and then, I got 20 iPads, 50 cents each. And of course, then up comes a photo with someone with a, with a gauze on their eye. That's what an iPad was like, 10 years ago, right? It's just, it's one of the best digital jokes ever. It's just, and now when you say iPad, no one thinks of the gauze. They think, oh, you've got a piece of tech in your hand. So even that changes too. So don't forget that even if you're looking at what people are referring to your business now, in 6 months' time, because of trends or needs or changes or anything can change that at any time. So it's a forever moving part.
It's also possible that, think about the outcomes or the solutions that because people aren't going to be sort of searching for the process. They'll be searching for the solution.
Yeah. And then SEMrush, all some of these tools, they do offer free, once a day searches and things like that. So they're not necessarily things that you have to subscribe to. They've got a lot of there's a lot more information that you can get from them when you do pay for a subscription, but it's not necessary when you've got the one website. You can do a search every day, and SEMrush is a really great, it's got a great dashboard, and it shows you all these, it does an analysis and an audit. It's one of those things, again, if you relate it to your business and you have a good old look, you'll start to hunt down and you'll start to become friends, rather than it just looking like a whole bunch of graphs and charts and arrows and things like that. And then there are other popular links. These change all the time to this Neil Patel. He's a massive influencer. If you can handle him talking, there's lots on YouTube. Moz does a lot of analytical stuff like SEMrush, Yoast. I mean, are there any normal names here? I don't know. So, Yoast has got really good articles, and Search Engine Journal as well. So they're all little areas that you might find the way things are written and the way things are delivered suits you more, which is why I've just given all of those as an option. You can just bounce around. If you get bored with one, know that there's more information out there written in a little bit of a different way, and it may just match your understanding a little bit better. Back to Google Learning Resources as well. I've got some links here. Google Digital Garage, there is such a thing. It has got some really great free courses. It tells you how long the courses are going to take, 5 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever. It's pretty simple, straightforward. Some of the presenters are human. They don't only use cartoons, and they're human, and you get all sorts of different accents. So that's a really, really good resource. Google Central, with Search Central, we've talked about that. And then they may refer to this structured data markup helper. Not going to go into that, but it is there and it's connected all to analytics and doing little searches on your actual website. I'll skip straight through this. This again, measuring your website performance. It's got SEMrush again and a lot of Google references. So there's a lot here. So once you start reading and once you start, whatever direction you go in and whatever you're listening and reading, they will refer to all these. So it's nice to kind of see all these words before you get hit with look here, because the minute you start clicking on certain links and going, well, try and do this, you could have 100 tabs open. And that's just, you know, welcome to my world and everybody else's at the moment with the way things keep changing. Now, this is just my little summary, let's say, on high level highlights. Let's just say they're highlights for specifically for local SEO, which is about optimizing pages and websites for region specific results, right? Obviously we want the near me searches. So it just enables users to find products and services available in their area. And of course, that's kind of, you know, a lot of us, that's what we're waiting for. That's what we rely on. If you, as I was saying earlier, if you have a personal interaction with your customers and your website helps them find your store, it's, you know, it's about that interaction, and people want that sort of local knowledge, but you need to let people know that you have that knowledge. So your content marketing is about giving people the information that they are going to find most helpful. It's not bragging. It's not too much. Once upon a time, having too much information on your website was, well, no one's going to read it. Okay, fine, they may not read it, but now people are relying more and more and searching online, and the crawlers are looking for the information. So now you do really have to pump that content back into your website and write about it so that everybody knows what you're an expert in, and those chats that you would otherwise have in your store and face-to-face and physically aren't happening. So they've got to start happening online. You know, as I said, larger organizations, that they'll put all the keywords and they'll pay money and they'll do the ads. They're not having that interaction. So local business, small businesses have actually got an advantage, to be honest, because they've got that personal approach, which people are now finding there's less and less of. So take advantage of the content, make sure that you're putting in, you know, be authentic, and make great content about your local business. Brag. And I didn't mean to do that. One moment, please. Malfunction. Keyword search. We talked about keyword searches and the importance of keywords. You know, Google will give search results based on the location. If you do a keyword search and you're sitting in Europe somewhere, it won't find a local business that's, you know, doing WHS or a gallery. It won't find one in Lithgow, and it won't find it. It focuses on where these people are. So wherever you are with your phone, it picks up that location. So wherever people are, and I know people aren't moving around at the moment, but we mentioned this a couple of weeks ago, that there'd be a surprise factor, because there are some people that just don't know you exist until they need your service. And then, hey presto, they're putting in a keyword because they're randomly looking for something, and they'll say, oh, didn't even know that's, you know, that existed here in my local town. So there's a surprise and delight factor to making sure that you've got those keywords, that you've put them in your content, and it is just such valuable information. Write local headlines.
If your client base comes from kind of a region or an adjacent area, do you just make sure that you put that in as well somewhere so that
that's right.
Covers that up?
Yeah, you make that part of your content. You also include other areas. You know, look at the other areas, name them, name the towns. talk about regional, talk about rural, talk about New South Wales, put that in there. You do need to mention those, but it's got to be with sense. You can't just, throwing in New South Wales for the sake of it is not going to help, because again, the crawlers aren't going to know, and they're not going to rank you because everybody else has got New South Wales as well. So it's got to be a sentence that you think, somewhere, someone's going to search for something in this area, and then they're going to search for something in that area. And those localities, it's very important to mention those localities. And as we were saying, pictures, if you travel from one place to another, or you deliver to one place or another, and you've got images, you put those locations in there related to what the product is and what you can get to them. Delivery in this area, delivery to, click and collect from, those localities. It takes a little bit to get around it, but the more you, there's nothing not to be taken advantage of, basically. So where were we? Right, local headlines. Make sure that it's, you want Google to show the results and highlight them. So your local headlines are snippets, right? That's what comes up at the top, and that's what attracts people when they've done their searches. And Google will know that you're focusing on a local audience, but you also want them to make sure that they recognize you as a local business. And that's the importance of matching up your Google My Business information and then writing headlines and having the meta descriptions and the title tags so that it represents. And you can have many of those too. You can say local sharpening in those areas, and that will come up, and that's what Google will push up to the top, because you've actually put that phrase in and you've written a headline. Basically, you've written a snippet that's relevant, that's going to outrank everybody else who hasn't done it. Because if your competitors start doing it and you don't, you won't be found, and you're just helping another business bring more, get more business. Make a great impression. That's my little if you've convinced someone to click through to your website, you've got to make sure that you keep them on your website. So because otherwise, if they bounce off and they click on you and then they don't have that information that they promised me. So don't just stop at a headline. You've got to have that content. You must have the information that backs up what you promised to begin with. Because if they come off your website, which is called like a bounce rate, that bounce rate will eventually lower your ranking as well. It hurts. It'll penalize that website and that page, and you've made a really horrible first impression, and it will just push you down the ranks, and you won't come up for that content again. Write a blog. I know a lot of people go, I don't want to be writing, but just stand in your shop and think of the conversations you've had with someone and told them a story and told them about a process and told them about a product, and right away, you've got brands that give you a lot of information, or you've got, your own knowledge and expertise. Write about it. Those blogs get a lot of attention with the crawlers, and it does really help your SEO, and it's great.
Remember that long form articles and things used to be 10-minute reads and then 4-minute reads, and now they're about 1-minute read with 400 words. So a blog doesn't actually have to be more than a couple of paragraphs these days.
Well, exactly, because if you're a dentist, you should write about the most common problems that people have concerning teeth. You're all of a sudden an expert. You've written a blog. Hey, what did you write? You wrote something that you know about. If you're a carpenter, write about what projects you've done. I've put together a kitchen and I've done the kitchen cabinets, and you can change, and I can build, and I can fit your windows and your doors. And even a florist, write about your beautiful bouquets. Write about a particular flower that's in season now, or one that's coming up, or what bouquet would be the most beautiful for a specific occasion. Blogs are just, they are exactly like what Sarah said, a couple of sentences about sharing some knowledge. Make sure it's in your website. Make sure that you're going to be referred to. That will help you be found. And
so when you're doing a blog, do you actually do that within the website, or are you talking about some sort of other hashtag type communication?
When you think about bloggers, they're all over the place, but I would say for small businesses, keep it within your website. Keep that information. You can have your own blogging page. You can have your own information page. We refer to it as a blog, but it is content essentially for a small business, because then you'd have to rely on that blog portal, that platform, to then have a link to come over to your website and then make the connection, which it's not a bad thing. It depends on your topic. It depends on what's on trend as well, and if people are really going to be looking for it on its own. What you want is that blogging means it's for your website. It's essentially, a bit of an expertise, a bit of an expert area for your business, but own it. You take kudos for that. Take kudos for the fact that your website holds that information rather than it necessarily sitting somewhere else. But again,
that doesn't mean that you can't, for example, with the florist, example, write the blog, have that on your website, but link to it with an Instagram post with a picture of it or something like that.
Yeah, I was just going to say that is great, because then you can link it to your social media. So that makes it means that you've got those links, and you've written about it. That's your place to keep that information. Or you could actually write in a thread where people are asking questions, or you could be on Facebook on a local community page, and you've written a little bit saying, look, if you want more information about this area, if people are wanting to know what grows in this town because of the soil, etc., you can do that too, and then you get them to link to your website or any of your social media platforms. And then there are areas where they're always asking for people to put more content, so you can find blogging sites as well. It's just there is no one have to, put it that way. It's do
you have any good examples of somebody who's using blogs in their website that's been very successful?
There is a really great
that sounds like the topic for next time.
Okay, next time I'll give some examples. Yeah, I won't give it away because I know this is a really good place, but think recipes. Recipes are great. It's just like, it's fantastic because you can get videos, photos, and you can talk about different, all that. I'll get you some examples. That's a good topic.
Just quickly, one of the things, I was talking to a good mate of mine yesterday, and was sort of talking about these courses, and just said, like, we're looking at sort of improving our online presence, and like basically, I think it was like someone said, well, if we're not doing it, one of our competition are going to be doing it. Like, so like, it's no good just not doing anything. You got to do something. But one of the things he pointed out to me, which I hadn't thought of until then, so I was predominantly in the printing industry, and I'd say 70% of my customers are in that industry are probably like the owners are in 70s, like they're old. It's an old demographic. And the way that I used to do, the way that it works, it's just word of mouth, like, oh, John gets around, Jono can do that sort of thing. It's not, I haven't needed that online presence. Even though that might have got me more work, I don't know. But anyhow, but now that I'm going to the chipper blades, they're all arborists. They're guys that 70% of those guys or more would be younger than me now. So he was pointing out to me that I've got to market myself to how that generation, like, so that's my new customer base, they're younger than me now. So they see things differently than what I do. So like potentially I've never wanted to do a blog, or I don't like putting stuff up on Facebook and saying I do this, I do that. But I've got to get over that, and that's what they expect.
It is an element of, oh gosh, you got to be up on stage, but that's, yeah, you got to run with it. You got to go fancy dress style, Jono, do something, you know.
And but that's their measure of credibility as well. It's not just they won't find you. They won't even think that you are a player if they can't find you in the places that they consider. And also those guys will be on their phone. Like they'll do all their business from their phone. So it's got to be mobile optimized, and probably not too long, just, you know, micro blogs with the key stuff that you do, images, you know, call me, you know, click through, call links and that sort of thing.
The danger is that even if there's word of mouth, these guys, if they can't find you super fast, because you know how they go via nicknames. I'll give you a really good example. Someone was talking to me about a chippy, a local chippy, and he used his nickname. And I said, well, what's his real name? And he goes, oh, geez, I don't know. I go, what's his surname? Oh, I don't know, mate. His name's whatever it was, Macho, right? And I said, but how do I get his number? He goes, when I see him, I'll let him know. And I'm like, no, but I need to get in contact with him. So, of course, you know, he's given me a nickname. So what do? I go on the Facebook community page and I say, anyone got any recommendations? And all of a sudden I got all these messages coming through, and the ones that kept saying, you know, Macho, I went, oh, well, there you go. You know, I found him because that was my only way of finding who everybody was talking about. And just because the guy didn't need his number, because he knows he sees him every couple of days down at the pub. And at the moment, if you don't bump into these people at the pub in a local area, what do you do? No one's exchanged numbers. So you've got to go somewhere, and Facebook is just your winner. Or anything, you've got to, you know, you just start to snoop around, and you become this Sherlock, you know, you kind of go, well, how am I going to find that person? So even word of mouth, Jono, if you're not online, and if you're not doing some pretty cool stuff, and if you're not able to, and even your nickname, you somehow have to incorporate that too, because people will search. And if you have content that says Jono knives sharpening in Lithgow, you got to have that sentence somewhere. You know, people call me as, people know me as, because if that content's there and someone's put those words in Google and they're searching for randomly, I mean, you know, that's how intelligent it's becoming. You know, we want to help Google to make our lives easy, so that it just puts all that information on there, to have a conversation, to put in a question, because that's our go-to place for everything. And the younger ones, they just go, oh, how to, or who's this, or do you know what I mean? It's so important that if they're going to find you and know that you've got some credibility, then they'll accept that someone's recommended you, and they'll go with it. It's a double, you know, already that's just like a double thing of going, yep, and there's a confirmation because he's online. I found him. Have your phone, your address, your location. They can click on they're very lazy. Everything's got to be instant and quick. You should be the only one that comes up. So, you know, you're not competing with keywords that are international. No. Bring it right down. Think of that local reference. Think of how people are talking about you, your business, your products, and your services. And even get someone to, I mean, don't do fake things, because Google, the robots will find you. They know how to figure out fake stuff. Don't even mess with it. Don't copy content. Don't copy paste. Don't plagiarize. Don't do any of that stuff. Create your own. It's got to be authentic. It's got to be about you. It's got to have little highlights that identify you and separate you from the competitors, from your own local competitors. And that's what local is all about. That's where the huge success is in being found. And then word of mouth gets further apart. You know, people go, oh, there was a guy, they're up, I don't know, in New South Wales. So you can still be found. but just know how people are talking about your business and referring to you, or how they may need to find you. And think of those conversations, like I said, from, you know, one tradie to another. They got no idea what these the real names of these people are, and they all refer to them as nicknames. And then you go, well, how am I going to find it? Because their wives are probably the ones that put them in contact, or they just catch up. So yeah, that's how clever it's getting, and it's great, but it does give you all a headache. But it's just, think of it as, you know, if you've got a shop, you need to dress that window, you know, don't leave it looking horrible, make it inviting. It's like walk past the coffee shop. You should just be roasting some coffee, because that smell will get people coming out. I don't really want a coffee, but I'm going to stop for one anyway because it smells so good. You know, it's that kind of, you know, get clever with it and use what we've got, which we've got a lot of stuff that once upon a time you had to get someone to do a radio ad and do the voiceover. It's still relevant, but this is all for you. You know, you've got it to hand. It's available to all of us. I hope a lot of those links will be useful, because, as I said, there is the danger that it'll be so boring to watch, but some of it, it's actually kind of, if they put it in layman's terms, it's not that boring. It's just how the world's working at the moment, and it's interesting. And the great thing is when you go to the analytics and you actually see how people have come to your page and spent some time and then called you, you go, wow, I'll do that again. You know, and just knowing that is what actually is more and more encouraging, and it makes you even better at optimizing and becoming better online, and knowing more about your business and how you're going to showcase it. You know,
so the more that you learn from your customer, definitely take the cues from the customers who are already using you, because they hold, you know, the answers to the words, the experience, all of that sort of thing. So we'll definitely do the next one on sort of great examples of blogs, but also great examples of, you know, social media linked to web type of thing. You know, we looked at Sharon's Google My Business, and that was an excellent example. We'll try to pull together a few more, you know, best practice type looks. But
yeah, some interesting successes. Yeah.
Any other questions before we terminate after going well over our time?
I told you it's a huge topic, guys. I mean, that was just like, how am I going to fit all this in? There's so much to talk about, and I'm not even an expert at it.
But would you say that really social media advertising is the cheapest, one of the cheapest forms of advertising, and one of the most effective?
You know what, Sharon, it can be as cheap as you want it, right? Because even Google advertising and yes, social media advertising, you can set, right? You can set your budget, you can set the timing, you can set your audience, how far the reach is and everything. So it's manageable, right? It's not necessarily, I wouldn't say it's always the cheapest, but I tell you what, I think it's a lot cheaper than what once upon a time when there were only 3 channels. You know, it was either a bus, radio, or a TV ad, and yes. or a billboard or something, and that would be static. It wasn't interesting. All of those things, I think, were less manageable in terms of price, and you'd always have to get someone out there to go and print something, and then you'd have to, and
you couldn't change them regularly like you can with social media either.
Exactly. And then by the time you get to 2,000 doors, when you do a letter drop, you've paid somebody and half the people throw it in the bin. You don't know the effectiveness of it, so you can't see what you're doing right, and you don't know what to continue. The good thing is that you can set yourself a budget of $20 a week, $50 a week, or $100 a week, depends on your campaign. Because some of them, they may not work, but at least you can set a reasonable budget and say, well, you know, I'll make that back, or that's the budget spend, and we're gonna try. We're gonna see what works.
You can see the target, you can see the result, or get the result too. So you can't always do that with other advertising, can you?
No, exactly.
Having said that, there's always that all the media need to be like, just because there is that element, that doesn't mean that
You don't
you know,
use
the
the
other
others.
ones aren't a legitimate part of your marketing mix, because sometimes those direct mail type of things, they get excellent results because nobody gets mail anymore. So when they do
Well,
get something, they read it.
That's the thing.
You
It's
know,
not flooded
billboards
anymore.
in a
Yeah.
particular area with a particular access, you know, you could absolutely nail it. So keep them all in your thoughts.
Yes.
But,
yes.
yeah, the digital ones are certainly the most sort of agile.
Yes, and they just take less time, I guess, in essence, to prepare, but at the same time they might not. But it's just all of that. You're right, Sarah. What Sarah says, always keep them all. Don't ever, when there's not been a success with one, it doesn't mean that you'll never revisit that channel. There's
no.
There's always a time to you know, try it again. You know, hit that channel. Expense wise, you can control it. That's, I think, the probably the better or more comforting thing is that it's, you know, it doesn't always have to be the cheapest, but it kind of is. But at the same time, it's it's very controllable.
But it's also very crowded. So, you know, you're there, but you're there with lots of others. So you balance that with the places where, or make sure that either the message is very clear, like Ant's been talking about today, or your findability is absolutely spot on, or you know, you go to the place where the most numbers of your target clients are going to be looking.
Yes. Yeah.
And so, Jono, for you, that could sometimes be trade magazines or, you know, something like that, rather than purely social, because it's, you know, social. And same with you, Susan, actually.
So has anyone left? Have I left anyone a bit like, oh my goodness, there's just too much? Because I didn't want to scare everyone, but honestly, it's actually not as frightening. It's kind of a very fun place to start to play when you start to understand that you're going to be bragging about your business. Just brag. No one else is doing it as well as you are.
Well, hopefully no one else knows it better than we do.
Absolutely, that's it. That's exactly right. So
that was good. I enjoyed it. Thank you.
Oh, I hope it was helpful. And as I said, we'll get those links, the slide deck out, and the links will you know, give you a bit more content, and it'll get you thinking.
Yes. Yes. Well, we've got the time to explore now, so it's a good opportunity.
That's right.
That's true.
It's a really good point. Antonella, I'm just wondering, perhaps in the fortnight, we could look at some examples of really great content. And you mentioned recipes. If there was a great recipe of a website, a piece of content, a blog, and then the social media, and just some ideas that might give some inspiration or be good examples for people to look at. And while we go, just in that meantime, is there some really simple tips that people can be doing? Perhaps it's taking the photo off the website, renaming it, putting it back on, putting some more pieces of naming or text of locations, regions that they reach into. What are some, you know, maybe 3 top things that people could be looking at between now and then?
Definitely, that's a good one. Take photos off, rename them and upload them. Don't forget your logo. That's always helpful, and try and post 1 or 2 photos a week. So don't necessarily, you know, you don't have look out for that change, right? You want to attract that you're updating, you're making changes. So the crawlers are kind of going, oh, I've got to visit that one again. Oh, something's changed. Let's go and visit again. You know, start to think of things that make sense. Start to think of how you're unique, and put that in the naming of your images if you haven't already done that. Have a good old look around at Google search console and the Google Central and Google Digital Garage. So really do give some thought to looking at those courses and just sitting back and sticking in some headphones and have a listen. Even if you've got, you know, the first topic and you think, well, it's not relevant, it'll get you thinking, or a process of elimination. I think those online resources, you should really start to dive in, because you'll get one thing out of listening for, you know, 20 minutes that you'll take away and that you can go and do. And start looking at your websites with what content is on there. You know what you know, but are you actually writing for your audience? You know, do you have information there that's relevant and that's something that people are looking for, rather than just going, well, this is us and we do that and that's it? You know, is there a story on your website? i.e., is there content that these crawlers are going to start to take notice of? So I know that's more kind of involved, but at a level of look at your pages on your website, look at your images, see what you can do, and then start to have a think about what resources you might need to make those changes, because there are lots and lots of things that everybody can do without having going and signing up for a degree.
Brilliant. Thank you.
You're
Very
welcome.
good. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks very
Okay.
much. It was brilliant.
Thank you.
I really enjoyed it.
Oh, that's good. I'm really pleased.
We'll see
And
you
just
again in
give
a
us a
couple of
little
weeks.
nudge.
Yep. And I'll have some great examples next week.
Brilliant.
Thank you very much.
You're
Okay.
welcome. Thanks.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
All right.
Bye.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
all. Bye.